Hello, witches. Grab your goat, grab your wand, grab your superhero cape because it is time for the Witches Movie Coven. Yes, witches talking about witches in movies. Yes, yes, yes. We're doing dancing goat, so many choices. And let us introduce, in case you don't know us or in case you've forgotten who we were since last week, I am Patti Negri. I am one of your hosts. You might know me from my regular appearances on Ghost Adventures or from my podcast, The Witching Hour, or from right here since we are hitting years in on the Witches Movie Coven. Let me pass this on to my first two regular co-hosts. Let's starting out with the handsome Richard-Lael.
Well, I am Richard-Lael. Richard-Lael is one name, not two. If I were just Richard, I would be a. That is right. I am known as the gentleman psychic. I'm a psychic and a medium. I used to be a psychic and a small, but I gained some weight. Anyway, that is how I am. You have seen me on Ghost Adventures. You've seen me on, I don't know, Universe and Magic. I'm everywhere. I'm easy to find.
Thank you very much. And of course, the golden locked boy himself, Jason Mankey.
I'm Jason Mankey. You've seen me on this show and at stores across the United States. I'm an author. It's 10 books. This is my Mystic Arts book, and it will teach you how to make a mystic shield.
Ooh, beautiful. That is good. Yes, we can. I guess we'll all take our books later or now. And two of our regular you may recognize. Let's start out with Thumper Forge.
Hello, I am Thumper Forge. Tonight I am playing the role of Heather Green because Tilda Swinton had a prior commitment. And Heather is the author of Lights, Camera, Witchcraft, a critical history of witchcraft in American film and television. But I am the author of the upcoming Chaos Apple, Magic and Discordianism for the Postmodern Witch, which will hit bookstores in November.
Thank you. And as we go to the caped beautiful crusader, Chad Strange. Welcome back, Chad.
How is everybody?
That's it.
I am Chad Hatter. I'm midway through this rum punch. I'm at San Diego Comic-Con. I'm in my hotel room, which I suspect is going to become ground zero here in a minute. So there's probably going to be a lot of people showing up here in a bit. Who knows? I don't. And Doctor Strange is my favorite of all the Marvel pantheon, and I'm very excited to be here and talk about him. So thank you for having me.
Thrilled to have you in full regard, beautiful cape. You want to tell us anything about that before we move on?
Well, this is the cloak is a labor of love because there's just an insane amount of work in it. I'll post some pictures on my Instagram later if anyone wants to see, but there's probably every single sewing technique I've ever used is represented in the cloak somewhere. There is tailoring techniques, there's embroidery, there's couch stitching, there's vermicelli. It is an insane garment, and it's one of my absolute favorite pieces because it's this lovely asymmetrical beast that just when you're wearing it sort of feels like a little hug. So it's nice to have him on.
Will we be seeing it at Comic-Con?
Oh yeah, so Friday my friends and I are doing an entire Marvel day. One of my friends is actually going to be modeling a Mephisto costume that I made some years back that's laid dormant and is making its triumphant return. And I'll be prepping the costume tomorrow so that Friday morning I can, transform into Dr. Stephen Strange, Sorcerer Supreme First Alternate. And this is my first year at Comic-Con where I have very little that I have to do. So it's going to be fun to finally go and enjoy the convention. And my boyfriend is coming down on tomorrow evening, and he will be cosplaying for the very first time and attending his very first convention ever. And I think he has massively underestimated exactly what a beast San Diego Comic-Con is. So I am really looking forward to the first 10 minutes I have with him at the con before he turns tail and runs back to the room. So.
Oh, I can't wait. I will, hopefully we'll find each other. I know you're doing panels. I'm doing a panel Thursday. So everybody who can get tickets, come on down to San Diego and see Chad and I at Comic-Con. Yay. Okay, go. This movie is Doctor Strange, 2016, correct? Now,
Correct.
I'm sure you all watched it this week because you are good little witches, or good big witches and good magical witches. But just in case somebody didn't get it, Richard-Lael, do you happen to have an unbiased synopsis of this Marvel movie? He's frozen.
What a great position for him to be frozen in. I'm going to screenshot that for later.
That might be his synopsis of the movie.
That might be. Has he gone? Wait.
I think we're doing Frozen tonight instead.
We're doing Frozen instead of Doctor Strange. Okay. Well, we'll give him a moment to come back. Otherwise, we'll flip it and we will move on to Thumper. Maybe.
Excellent.
Wait. Wait.
Up. There's the box.
Taco Bell, Sorcerer Supreme, and wait. Back. Coming back. No.
No.
And then there were 3.
Wow.
Oh no. And it's me with the boys tonight. I don't want to lose the boys. All right. Well, if we don't lose you. Well, on that note, we want to say rest in peace to Ozzy, the legend, Ozzy, the Prince of Darkness, Ozzy. I mean, such a major part of like everybody's life in a sense, whether you were into his music or not. He has been a part of our lives, I think, forever. Hasn't he?
As long as I've been around.
Did you ever see Ozzy, Patty?
No, I never did. I worked with his son Jack.
Okay.
He's in my whole paranormal world, who is great, and he's really sweet. I have not worked with Ozzy. Let's see. So
I got to see Ozzy twice.
good.
Once with Black Sabbath, and that tour was not highly rated, but I thought the night that I saw them, they were great. They played for about 75 minutes, and they played pretty much every Black Sabbath song that I would want them to play. And I saw him once with Rob Zombie. He had just had an accident that summer on an ATV, and I don't think he should have been touring, but it was still Ozzy. So it was still awesome to see Ozzy and hear a bunch of my favorite songs. I'm a huge heavy metal fan. That's why I have the hair. So yesterday was really rough on me. I was gutted, and they were just Ozzy's a legend. Black Sabbath's a legend. They've influenced music so much. And I hope everybody's been cranking it up this week in honor of Ozzy.
They are. Every radio station I turn on, it is. They're talking, they're showing photos, they're showing everything. So he went out like a king that he was.
Absolutely. He basically went out on a throne and not a toilet like Elvis, like on a throne after singing. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
So, all right, we are keeping our fingers crossed for Richard-Lael, but while we have Thumper, since you're the only one.
Up.
Oh,
Woo!
Rising out of the darkness. I love this.
Hello.
Did you lose your
Hi.
electricity, sir?
I did lose electricity, so I'm trying to illuminate some candles with some power of magic. Anyway, can you see me? I can't really see you. I'm on my phone, so all of my power is out. Can you see me?
We
We
can.
can see you.
This is
Okay,
perfect.
there I am.
So,
all right.
when you are ready, give us your synopsis before we lose you again. It's very
Yes.
romantic and spooky and fabulous.
Well, I will give you my unbiased synopsis because if you like Marvel, this film is not marvelous. That's a side point. To quote Freddie Mercury, anyway, this movie blows. Anyway, I watched this at double speed, and it was still not fast enough. If you like Mortal Kombat and The Matrix, you'll love this bastard child of all of those things. Apparently, a narcissistic doctor who is a neurosurgeon, who's really smart, but not smart enough to not text and drive, gets into a car accident. And then he goes on a quest, white savior, goes on a quest to restore his hand. And along the way, he meets not an Asian guru in an Asian country. No, he meets Tilda Swinton. And she's great. But then he, of course, goes study. And then all of the other hand movements, fight scene. He gets it back. Come to find out, he's in a War of the Worlds. It's a multiverse. Set up for sequel. That was about it. I watched it on double speed. It was still not that I'm trying to be as kind as I can.
It was eerily accurate, I will say.
Was Benedict Cumberbatch's accent better at double speed?
You know what? It was the film itself was so much better at double speed. I watched 20 minutes of it on regular speed, and I was bored out of my ever-loving mind. So, that's it. Roll credits.
Thank you. Now that we completely understand the plot line of the film, Thumper, do you have 5 more things that maybe we need to know about this film?
I do, although we are going to start where it all began, which is with the comic books. Because Doctor Strange was created by Steve Ditko, who is a legendary Marvel Comics artist, and Stan Lee. He debuted in 1963. He was inspired, Stan Lee was inspired to create him because of the 1930s radio serial Chandu the Magician. And he was also very inspired and influenced by beat culture. And Doctor Strange from the beginning was not really a traditional superhero. And he actually got very popular in the late 60s with the growing countercultural movement, partially because of all the mysticism in the comic books, but mainly because the art was really, really psychedelic for the time. Doctor Strange was going to all the different dimensions and doing all this cool magic. And apparently, Steve Ditko's art in the Doctor Strange books eerily resembled the visual experience of doing LSD. So that brought in a very unexpected fandom. Although the Marvel writers swear up and down that none of the Doctor Strange staff was doing drugs, they still somehow managed to create the experience of it. Marvel Comics has always sort of had a reputation as being fairly progressive, and they still are. But when we look back on Doctor Strange's origins today, we might kind of find them a bit problematic. When he was first introduced, he was described as the master of black magic, which today witches get real cringy about that term. And Marvel actually eventually kind of got rid of that term, and they restructured magic in the Marvel universe so that there was magic for order, which is what Doctor Strange practices, and then there's magic for chaos, which is what the bad people practice. As a Discordian, this makes me apoplectic because the opposite of order is disorder, not chaos. But not everyone can be right, so we're going to give them that one. The Eastern mystic trope was very big in the early Doctor Strange, and really fell back on stereotypes, specifically around the character of Wong, who in the comics was a master of martial arts, but also a manservant. So he was kind of the help. And the movies really sought to kind of rectify that to a point. And they reinvented Wong, so he was more of a warrior, but also very much a mentor. Like he was the one guiding Doctor Strange instead of following him around. As for Doctor Strange's role in the comics themselves, he's had his own solo series. He's been a part of a number of teams, including the Avengers and the Defenders and the Illuminati. But his primary role is Deus Ex Machina, where whenever a superhero team finds himself in a death trap, often Doctor Strange will show up and just set everything right. I remember this from when I was a kid. I was reading a New Mutants comic, which is a spinoff of the X-Men. And at one point, literally the entire team is on fire, and Doctor Strange swooped in and patted them out and disappeared. And it wasn't supposed to be ironic or funny. It was just he happened to be in the area. But that is often his role within the comics, is when all hope is lost, Doctor Strange shows up and just kind of rewrites reality to move the plot forward. The movie itself had actually been in development since 1986, and it just could never find footing. But a number of different people were attached to it. Clive Barker was attached to it at one point. Neil Gaiman was attached to it at one point. But it was finally produced and released in 2016, and it premiered in Hong Kong, which is a plot point. We're going to get back to that. It was a box office success. It was considered the biggest single character intro into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It grossed about $678 million worldwide, and it also was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Visual Effects. in that respect, everything is great. When it came to the casting, that's where we got into some controversy. Benedict Cumberbatch, Cabbage Patch. I never get it right. That one, Benny. We'll call him Benny. Benny was cast as Doctor Strange. Even with accent issues, did a really good job. But he also played Dormammu, the villain, and that was actually his idea, because he thought if he voiced Dormammu, it would create the effect of like the evil reflection of Doctor Strange. So he played both the villain and one of the main big bad and the hero. Tony Todd actually recorded a voiceover for Dormammu. And Tony Todd, most people might know him from The Candyman and also for his role in the Final Destination franchise. But ultimately, they decided to go with Cumberbatch's voice, just to keep that mirror going. And then, of course, the big issue was Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One. I will say, I would follow Tilda Swinton into hell. I think they're the greatest actress ever. Like, I think there should be a Muppet movie starring Tilda Swinton. I think there should be a movie about Tilda Swinton in which Daniel Radcliffe plays Tilda Swinton and Tilda Swinton plays everyone else. I adore them. But casting her in this particular role turned out to be kind of a misstep. The writers really were worried about the character of the Ancient One because in the comics, he's Tibetan. And they were afraid that if they presented a Tibetan character in a prominent role, the Chinese government would take it as a political statement, and that would be threatening to Disney's partnerships and investments in the Chinese market. Like I said earlier, the movie premiered in Hong Kong. And there was there was a big like we have to keep China happy. The writers didn't want to face backlash for not casting an Asian actor into a prominent Asian role, but they were also really desperate to avoid any stereotyping. And they were afraid that if they cast a wise old Asian man, that would read as Fu Manchu. And they were worried to cast an old Asian woman, it would read Dragon Lady. And they were like, what if we cast a younger Asian woman? That's kind of fetish content. And so they picked Tilda Swinton, thinking, who's going to have a problem with that? They were immediately accused of whitewashing. And it, as Richard-Lael mentioned earlier, it ended up sort of playing into the trope of a Westerner goes to Asia to learn how to be a better Asian than the actual Asians. And so that kind of added to the controversy. One of the producers, Kevin Feige, did say that the criticism was kind of a wake-up call because they were trying to be forward-thinking and they were trying to be edgy. And after the fact, they realized that they could have just cast an Asian dude and not written him stereotypically. But that was their hindsight on that particular issue. A couple of quick fun facts as we wrap this up. Stan Lee, of course, had a cameo. Before he passed away, Stan Lee had a cameo in every Marvel movie. And in this one, he was a bus passenger. And he's actually reading a copy of The Doors of Perception by Aldous Huxley. And that book is an autobiographical account of Huxley's experience with mescaline and how it sort of expanded and changed his perception of the world, which was a little Easter egg kind of harkening back to Doctor Strange's psychedelic origins, but also very much like a reflection of the plot of the movie. And finally, my favorite thing in the whole movie, the scene where Doctor Strange and Christine have gone into the janitorial closet and Strange goes through the portal, a mop falls over. That was not scripted. There was supposed to be just sort of this reflective moment of Christine wondering what happened. And then the mop fell over and Rachel McAdams screamed, but she screamed in character, so the director left it in the film. And that... Hopefully Richard-Lael found that one moment at least worthy of entertainment. And anyway, that is 5-ish things you should know about this film.
Thank you. That was good. I learned all 5 things, of which I didn't know. Thank you.
Excellent.
I learned so much here at the Witches Movie Coven. I hope that's all the same for all of you. Yes, Jason, you look like you have your hand up.
Oh, not really, but I will say one thing. the name Doctor Strange comes into the Marvel Universe before this movie.
You are
In
correct.
Captain America: The Winter Soldier, they mentioned Stephen Strange as a potential target of Hydra because he has the potential to disrupt what they want to build, which was an Easter egg in that movie, and of course made me squeal with delight because, like Chad, I am also a big Doctor Strange fan.
And you know what's funny is that in the movie there is the whole back and forth about like people
You're
keep
really
calling
cutting
him
out.
Mr.
I don't know if anyone can even hear me.
We can now.
We can now. But Thumper's not cutting out on us.
For a change. But in the movie there's the whole thing about, you know, people keep calling him Mr. Strange and he keeps getting really upset. When Steve Ditko and Stan Lee were developing the character, they were originally going to call him Mr. Strange, but they thought that was too close to Mr. Fantastic. And in another comic, there actually had been a villain named Doctor Strange who was like a one-shot villain. So they went ahead and called him Doctor Strange because he was going to appear in Strange Tales, and they were like, hopefully nobody will remember the bad guy. And nobody did.
Also, another fun comic book thing, you'll notice that his name is Stephen Strange. You get the 2 S's, which is something Stan Lee did very often with characters. Peter Parker, Bruce Banner, Pepper Potts, because he had trouble remembering the names of the characters.
Really?
So he would, yes, this is absolutely why he did that. And it's not universal across the board. Tony Stark is Tony Stark or Tony Stank, depending on the day. But on a lot of the major characters, you see that alliteration. They have the same first letter of their name and the first letter of their last name.
That is very interesting.
Which I always thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
It's good. So thank you. Richard-Lael has turned into a light psychedelic.
He's just Richard-Lael, pure energy.
He's in the mirror dimension.
It's like LSD. All right. Well, I am not a big Marvel girl, but I enjoyed this film. I really did. I didn't get bored. If I'm not a big fight scene girl, even if that's where they were really long fight scenes.
Yeah.
Really, really long fight scenes. So I almost wanted to speed up at a couple of them because how much can you throw somebody through the universe and around? But again, knowing who Doctor Strange was, any of these things, I liked it. And again, not knowing, even though they're in an Asian company, that Tilda was supposed to be an Asian man. She was fine. She's Celtic. Okay, she's a witch. Now it's a witch. Now we could do it in the we could do it in the Witches movie. You know, no animals died. That's always my first thing.
Yeah.
No
animals died.
Oh.
No animals died. So it except for, again, too long of fight scenes, it held me. Is that thunder?
It is.
You've gone. Oh wow!
Oh.
Whoa!
Wow. Okay, sorry, I lost my train of thought. So again, I liked it. That's all I have to say. It was pretty. I like the special effect. I want to live in a world with portals I can jump through.
Yes. I don't like the sling ring. I didn't like that name. Like that's probably like a nitpicky thing. But all
That's the only thing I liked.
But everything else was like, this is the staff of the living tribunal. These are the boots of Watum. Sling ring. I thought that was silly.
And it sort of doesn't it look like those things you fight with?
Brass knuckles? Yeah.
Brass knuckles.
There's a brass knuckle.
Brass monkey.
The vaulting boots of Valtor.
The Valtor, sorry. I got my
yeah,
entities,
the vaulting boots
I got
of
my
Valtor.
entities mixed up. I got Watum mixed up with Valtor. It happens all the time. Chad,
Okay.
What is your thoughts on the movie? He asked, wondering, since you're wearing the coat.
I don't have.
Well, okay. So first of all, I need to tell you, I don't know what is going on with the stream tonight, but all of you are frozen. I can't see Jason or Patty. Thumper is frozen in time, and Richard-Lael is just a hand. So I'm just sort of smiling politely, waiting to be tapped in because I have no idea what's going on. I don't particularly care for superhero movies because I find a lot of them to be very riddled with sort of toxic masculinity and just a lot of angry punch. And what I loved about Doctor Strange was that his power does not come from his physical strength; it comes from his imagination. So, you know, as he's learning the mystic arts and figuring things out, you know, it's more of a battle of wits with him a lot of the times, which is what makes his character so fun. Because with Thor, he, you know, he has his hammer and he punches a lot, and with, you know, Captain America, he has a shield and he punches a lot. But, you know, Strange, his whole solution to the big bad is to, you know, annoy him into
Yes.
submission. He doesn't. He goes into the dark dimension. He creates a time loop. He, you know, uses the artifacts and the power at his disposal, knowing he can't beat an interdimensional being of this caliber one-on-one. So instead, he's like, how can I simply flip the script on him and, you know, literally annoy him into submission? And I think that that's just wonderful. And the other thing that I really love about just the film is I like that it's a slow burn. I like that it's atmospheric and lovely and beautiful. And my favorite production note is that the locations that they filmed a lot of Kathmandu and you know where Kamartaj is located, people had never filmed there before. So that is the first time any of these locations, like the Monkey Temple, when he's walking and he's running his hands along the shrines and they're spinning, that's never been seen before other than in photographs. And so the idea that they were working with the various governments to come in and, you know, give the area a financial boost by filming there, but also showcasing sort of how beautiful these locations are, I think is just wonderful. And it's also the only Marvel film, or especially, it's the only Marvel film where at the end there is no catastrophic destruction.
Yeah.
Because he rewinds it, he undoes it. So every other film has buildings being destroyed and explosions and bombs and you know, aliens coming from the sky. But with this one, he wins the day and then he fixes everything and it's like it never happened. And I really appreciate that. And I also really love the scene at the end with Thor because I despise Thor. I cannot stand him. Loved him in his first movie, but then at some point Kevin Feige was like, let's make him as stupid as possible. And the lovely Shakespearean elements of him went away. So the idea that this elegant, becloaked sorcerer is, you know, gonna throw him around the sanctum and, you know, have conversations with him and make him answer his questions and not, you know, not deal with his bullshit. I'm not impressed that you're a god. I'm not impressed with your hammer. I'm not impressed with your hair or your stupid smug smile. I'm going to get the information I need so I can wrap up my business, and I just adore that. The opening scene of Thor Ragnarok, where you get the full scope of him interacting with Thor, I consider that to be Doctor Strange too. It's a 5-minute scene, but to me that's the sequel because you actually get to see him at the height of his powers in the Sanctum, which is an environment he can completely control and a sentient environment in the comics that wants to work with him. And that's what makes it so, you know, damned entertaining. I know that the trope of the Westerner going east and everything is in there, but I really appreciated that one of the things that they were trying to do was create the idea of international unity, which is why Mordo is black and you know, all these different things, when in the comics Mordo's a really angry white guy who's entirely too muscular. And I think that what they improved him, and you're 100% correct that in the comics he is the, you know, the person who comes in and can fix everything with a finger snap, but that's really not been the case in the last, you know, 10 to 15 years of the comics.
That is true.
They've implemented a lot of magical rules that were informed by this movie, so that he's not able to come in and fix everything, and he's not able to just portal you anywhere, because unless he's been to where he's portaling, he can't get you, that, you know. So they created these rules that really brought the magic in and made it actually functional, because I don't like in movies and books and stuff, I don't like it when you have a magical character who can make everything better in an instant. So what's the point of the story? So by having the rules and the sling rings and stuff like that, I think they actually improved it, because the sling rings are not in the comics. That was something they invented for the film, which I thought was great. Even though they do look like knuckle dusters.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Two things. I want to say hey, shout out to Heather because we saw her jump into the chat room. We love you, Heather. We miss you, Heather. And the other thing I want to say, what Jason, does your wife know that you and your girlfriend were playing with the sling ring?
Oh, of course, she was watching in the background.
Okay, there you go. So that's it. I just worry about these things. So.
I will say
Thumper's
that,
next.
hooray! Ferryman in the chat asked or pointed out that there were the names of some actual magical texts in the film and mentions of specific of like, there it is, like a genuine occultists, and that's actually something that traces back to the comic books, where Stan Lee did try to include a lot of mythology and mythological references and actual occultism, but he also went on record as saying, I don't know what any of it means, it just sounds magical. So there's a lot of interesting stuff in the old books.
My favorite moment that references actual magic is when Strange goes back to the library with all the books he finished reading, and it's Codex Imperium and Astronomia Nova and all these that are actual like alchemical texts, because I immediately looked them up and found out they were real, and I have them in my collection. They're hard to find.
The Key of Solomon was in there as well.
Yeah. That's the most noticeable
exactly,
one is the Key of Solomon, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. I geeked out pretty hard with that.
I love the mention of the Vishanti a couple times in it, because in the comics, the Vishanti are this tribunal of, like, they're sorcerers that have kind of become gods in a way. And in the comics, you can tell that Strange is set up to eventually become the fourth Vishanti. And eventually, and can you guys still hear me? You're breaking up.
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear you, and we're not frozen.
Say what?
We're not frozen. Well, when you saw we were frozen, or whoever's, I haven't had anybody frozen yet.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I don't know why me and Richard-Lael are having such fits with this week, but the other thing I wanted to point out real quick is that the comics do not take themselves seriously in the slightest. Because there is a story arc where he goes to meet with a member of the Vishanti, and they appear to him as the caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
And which is pretty great, because in that particular instance, the Vishanti is planning on asking him questions, and so chose this form because you would recognize it and be able to interact with it. And I love that they play with magic in that way. It's nice and therapeutic.
Very and really kind of tying back into the hallucinatory elements of it, specifically from a character from Alice in Wonderland. Doctor Strange is also was also a different character, and remains in the movies a different kind of comic book character, because there is an old kind of gender binary trope in comic books, which is men punch, women point. So you have, like with the X-Men, you have Cyclops and Colossus and Jean Grey and Storm. And they can use their powers without getting messy and with, while staying pretty in the background. And Doctor Strange is a pointer. He's not as even though there were fight scenes in the movies, and he in the comics was trained in martial arts as well. But so much of what he does involves the pointing and the mentalism and things that were not scripted as masculine in comics when he debuted and for the first couple 20 years that he was around.
I just always liked that he was older. If you go back and you look at the original comics, and even today, there's little streaks of gray through his hair. And for a long time, it was sort of like established rules. Like if you were over 40, you were either dead or retired as a superhero. Yeah. Right? You couldn't be anything but sort of a younger superhero, and Strange was different in that sense.
Yeah, back when I had hair, this was turning gray. This turned gray first, and I was so excited because I was going to look like Doctor Strange, and then all of this fell out, and I looked like an owl. It was sad.
I did want to point out that Stephen Strange's middle name is Vincent, because he visually, the original illustrations is based off of Vincent Price.
I can see that.
If you go back and look at the original illustrations, he's based off of he's Vincent Price, in the East Village in his mansion, concocting magic. And so as a nod to that, his middle name is Vincent.
Yeah, that is really cool. I did not know that at all. I did notice that when looking up for the things you need to know and finding the original Strange Tales images of him, he does look eerily like Vincent Price. That's
Yeah.
interesting how that's evolved.
It's
And
it is a little unfortunate because right before the movie came out, there was this there were a couple story arcs that came out where they decided to make him more muscle bound and more kind of more like the other ones, and I've never cared. The stories are great, but I've never cared for those illustrations of him because I don't like the idea of, he wouldn't be wasting his time working out. He would be, doing Tai Chi and studying sorcery and communing with interdimensional beings and, going on dates with Dormammu's niece. Spoiler.
oh no, that's already she's appears in the is Clea his niece or his daughter?
His niece in the comics. She's the niece. She's not the daughter.
Okay, I couldn't because she pops up at the end of Multiverse of Madness of the sequel.
She does.
When
Played by
Charlize
Theron, who I think is perfect casting.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I will add, if Tilda Swinton was not going to be playing the Ancient One, I would want Tilda to be playing Clea because I'm in the same camp as you. I think Tilda can do absolutely no wrong. And it's a shame that they, her death scene in the movie is spectacular. It's my favorite scene in all of the Marvel universe. But
oh yeah,
it is a shame that we lost her. However, I do really enjoy her scene with Bruce Banner in Endgame, where she knows exactly why he's there. She's looked into it, and he's like, "I'm looking for Stephen Strange," and she's like, "You're 5 years too early. He's 25 blocks that way performing brain surgery." It's great. It's great.
I listened to an interview with her one time on, I think it was Fresh Air. It was either the Arts Hour or Fresh Air. It was an NPR show, and they were like, "Tilda Swinton, how do you prepare? How do you create these characters? What's your process?" And she was like, "I'm a fraud. I show up and say the lines and everybody tells me I'm brilliant and I don't know why." And I just always love her that she's never...
I really understand why they changed the character of the Ancient One, and I think, personally, I think they went in the right direction. However, I don't think there's a way to solve that particular problem, because if the movie was only going to be in America, then we probably would have had a Jackie Chan cameo, or they would have found a way to do Mr. Sulu. I would have loved him to play the Ancient One, but I loved the idea that they made her Celtic. I just wish that would have been better reflected in her costumes, because her costumes still feel so Eastern, and it's like, why would you not take the idea of the sorcerer robes and give us beautiful Celtic knots and metal trinkets in her hair? There's so many ways they could have done that better. It's just because they didn't hire me to do the costumes, so naturally those ideas.
It's a mistake.
I 100%, because look at that cloak, better than his. I'm just saying, better than his. I think that tells me a lot about Tilda. If she says she's a fraud, that she shows up and does the line. I think we've had this conversation before. I think what a lot of actors do is literally channel. They step into a character. I've seen it. I 100 years of acting school on this end. And when you really become something, you become that. Whether she's channeling a being or entity, she's just becoming that. So it would seem like I'm not acting. The people who are acting are the bad actors.
And she just she's always, I guess, as she kind of put it, she's like, I just do what they tell me to. But by doing that, she can, like, one of my favorite movies that she's been in is the remake of Suspiria, where she played 3 different characters, one like an ancient woman, one kind of Tilda Swinton, and then an old German dude. And they were just like, "Hey, Tilda, can you be an old German dude?" Okay. And she did.
Because she can do anything.
Yes.
That's one thing I've always liked about Tilda Swinton, though, that like there's an ambiguousness to her sexuality. Mm-hmm. And often when I see Tilda Swinton, to me, it's more like a non-binary character, which is sort of how I viewed the Ancient One a little bit in this movie. That might just be me putting some gloss on it, but I'm not, so it's not just me. That's really good. I think absolutely. Hand up.
I did. I just want to add that one of my favorite interviews is with her is when she's talking about the Ancient One, and she says the phrase that, gender is in the eye of the beholder. And when she was, when they were having conversations about how the Ancient One would behave and act and be, they thought, what if she's lived so long, gender just literally does not matter anymore. And so all of her look with the bald head and the scars on it, and the costume was meant to reflect that. But I will say, if you ever get a hankering for it, look up the concept art for the movie, because there is concept art of her with this long, like 6-foot white braid
Oh
that,
wow.
with this high hairline and this long, like really intricate braid going down her head. And like in some of the concept art, it looks like she actually would have fought with it, which I think would have been very cool to see.
Yeah.
But I had a point. Where was I going with that? Gender is in the eye of the beholder. Yeah. So, but the other thing I wanted to point out about her costumes is that in the first scene where we're introduced to her, her outfit's completely white and it's very simple, and it looks like origami folded around her. And they talked about how they did that on purpose, because everyone else in that scene is wearing, particularly Master Hamir, who I love his sleeves. His sleeves are everything. But Master Hamir has these layered sleeves that are big and billowy, and Mordo is in his green, with all of his braiding and everything on it. And then she's just in white with no trim, no trinkets, very simple, because she wanted to be a completely blank canvas when she meets Steven. So much so he misinterprets her for a butler, serving him tea. And completely misinterprets who she is as a character, which I think is great. And the other costume thing I wanted to point out is, if you watch the movie at the beginning, everything Stephen Strange is wearing has a lot of buttons and buckles and straps, and then after he loses control of the nerves in his hands, the buttons go away and the straps go away, and everything that he's wearing is something he can just pull on, because he no longer has the dexterity to actually fasten anything to him.
Yeah.
And I love that they took the time to figure that out, because if you think about it, yeah, if you've got nerve damage and you can't move your fingers very well, then yeah, you're not going to be wearing boots that lace up, and if you are, they're going to be tied horribly. It's great that they had that level of like thought. There's one other thing I did want to point out, though, that I love about this movie. I really get annoyed when franchises ignore their own lore, and all of the lore established in Doctor Strange has been completely thrown out the window, because originally in Doctor Strange, in the film, when they say multiverse, they mean multiple dimensions, but now multiverse means we can have 6 Doctor Stranges if we want, but you can't travel from universe to universe without doing irreparable damage. Never mind, no, you actually can. But one particular thing that they did in Doctor Strange has hung up the Marvel universe multiple times, and I love it so much. And it's the death of Wong, because when Strange and Mordo get to the battle site at the end, and Wong is impaled on rebar, Strange rewinds and saves his life. And there was a scene in Endgame, spoiler, but there's a scene in Endgame where Bruce Banner goes to meet with the Ancient One because he wants the Time Stone. And originally in that scene, Tilda, the Ancient One, says to him, anyone who dies will always die. You cannot undo death. There's no way to reverse it. But the people who have been snapped out of existence did not die. They were changed, which means you can't undo it. And it was this giant earth-shattering moment where he got confirmation that yes, the snap can be undone, everyone can be saved. But the problem with that is that Wong died and Strange undid it. So they had to go back and reshoot, like a month before the movie came out. They had to redo that entire scene because someone at the Marvel offices caught that particular plot hole. That, okay, if we're saying that if we're going to say that death can't be undone, we just saw it be undone, so what does that mean? And they reshot that scene to fix that problem. And I think that's kind of funny. And what's really funny is, if you go watch the original version of that scene, Tilda's in a completely different outfit, but when they did the reshoots, she's back in the iconic yellow. And I think that's really funny. But the thing that really stinks is, in the original scene, the way they shot it, the Ancient One is not fighting in the Battle of New York. She's laying on a sunbed on the roof of the Sanctum having a cocktail and like waiting for Bruce Banner to show up. It's great. It's fine that they fixed the plot hole, but there were some moments in that original version that I think is just better.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you for no. I feel validated. I love that.
All right. Well, I've learned so much about this movie, much more than watching it. Do we have any quotes on this film? Are we up to quotes yet?
Well, since I didn't hex anybody tonight, I'm doing
No
my Courtney
hexing.
Buckley impression.
Freezing, no hexing.
Yeah. So I did scrounge up some. I don't think this is a particularly quotable movie as a Marvel movie, but there are some things that are kind of funny there, like Mr. Doctor. Mr. Doctor, It's strange. Maybe, but who am I to judge? There you go.
Yeah.
I got it
Yay.
right before the show for you, Thumper.
My heart is so full.
Yes. A lot of the better quotes are from the Ancient One, of course, because it's Tilda Swinton. Arrogance and fear still keep you from learning the simplest and most significant lesson of all, which is, it's not about you. Which, the magic in this movie is not very accurate, but some of these sayings are kind of accurate to magic, I think. Death is what gives life meaning, to know your days are numbered, your time is short. You'd think after all this time I'd be ready, but look at me, stretching one moment out into 1,000, just so that I can watch the snow. Strange after Mordo gives him a card. Well, what's this, my mantra? The Wi-Fi password. We're not savages.
We're not savages.
I always thought that one was pretty funny. Wong, just Wong, like Adele or Aristotle, Drake, Bono, Eminem. And it is just Wong, because Wong is great. More Ancient One. You're a man looking at the world through a keyhole. You've spent your whole life trying to widen that keyhole, to see more, to know more. And now, on hearing that it can be widened in ways you can't imagine, you reject the possibility. The language of the mystic arts is as old as civilization. The sorcerers of antiquity called the use of this language spells. But if that word offends your modern sensibilities, you can call it a program, the source code that shapes reality. When I read those, I can hear Tilda Swinton in my
I
voice.
can too. You read
Right?
it so
You
well.
can hear them, right? Like, just the way that she delivers everything is just so right on.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Are you okay, Chad? Yeah, okay.
I have had the day. I've been up since 7, which is rare for me, and I've been on my feet all day, and I have to be in a dark room in order for you guys to see me, because as we discovered before we started, this light looks like I'm being interrogated, and it's that coupled with what is effectively a blanket on me. I'm starting to like fall asleep, so I apologize. I'm not bored with you. This is the liveliest conversation I've had all day.
Yay.
Well,
I
thank
will
you.
say,
Go on.
I was going to say, I will say, as much as I did enjoy the movie, it's always hard like I grew up reading Marvel comics, and so I have to suspend a lot of disbelief when I watch any Marvel movie, just because things are going to happen, and my rationale is always like, it's the multiverse. This just isn't Earth 616. Everything's fine. But every once in a while, something will pop up, and there was a random line where Tilda Swinton said, "And we did it through dimensional energy," and I was like, no, you used a universal energy. In order to use the dimensional energy, you would have had to entreat an entity, and you did not do that. You used that. And I'm like, I gotta let stuff like that go. And I'm not good at letting it go.
It was intentional.
Was
that
it?
was an intention? Yes, because she's been siphoning power off of Dormammu to stay alive.
Yeah.
And that is an intentional misquote that was done on purpose, that originally was going to come back at the end, but they had to tighten up the ending, and so they cut the reference back to it out, but that was intentional. She accidentally misspeaks in that moment. So yes, because I agree with you. You have to, like, it's like when you making a deal with the demon or the fairies or whatever, but with them it's interdimensional. And and that was a purposeful mistake.
Okay. For those of you who dated in high school, so there are 3 types of magic in the Marvel universe. Or 3 types of energy. There is personal, universal, and dimensional. Personal energy comes from your body. It's like what the Benjamin Bratt was using to walk. That would have been personal energy. Universal energy is the world around you, and dimensional energy comes from entities from other dimensions that you have to entreat in order to get their power. So I Chad, thank you so much, because that one line, like, every time I watch the movie, I'm like, ugh! And so I feel a weight has been lifted.
So do
I actually
know this stuff? People who are Marvel fans, do most people know this stuff?
No.
It depends on which books they're reading.
Okay.
Well,
That's
the thing is,
amazing to me. It's like, it's
sorry, I was just gonna say, most people don't go quite this deep into the Doctor Strange lore, because it gets retconned a lot and it changes a lot, and it depends on what plot and what story it's like what happens. But yeah, I would say most Marvel fans don't know this. They'll tell you how many freckles Peter Parker has, but most of them don't don't know all this, even though I would argue that, especially for the last couple of Marvel films, the Doctor Strange portion of the Marvel universe has been wildly important, and whatnot. But anyway, I was just gonna jump in real quick and say that I actually have to skedaddle because I just got a message and I have a client waiting in the lobby of the hotel to pick up a costume, so I have to bounce. But speaking of dimensional beings, I just wanted to throw out my favorite dimensional being real quick. His name is Enithermon the Weaver, and he's a character that shows up in some of the original Strange comics because the cloak gets destroyed, and Strange can't figure out how to fix it, and so he goes to a dimensional tailor named Enithermon the Weaver, who looks like a little purple triceratops, who, you know, takes one look at the scrap of cloak that Strange brings him, and for like 3 pages yells at him for allowing such an incredibly powerful magical garment to come into harm's way. And there's 2 things I want to point out. The demon that destroys the cloak is based off the Cheshire Cat. He's a smiling cat demon who literally shreds it off of Strange. But Enithermon agrees to repair the cloak in exchange for a fee to be paid later, and he doesn't tell Strange what it is. And then the character goes away for like 19 issues until something horrific happens that effectively causes Strange to lose his soul. And Enithermon pops up and is like, okay, I've come to collect my fee. And demonic, soulless Strange is like, what could you possibly want? And he's like, I want you to get your soul back. And he snaps his fingers and Strange is healed and the world becomes better, and that's his fee. And that is my favorite plot twist in any Marvel anything. That this little guy showed up, fixes the cloak, says he'll show up later on for payment, and the payment he demands is for Strange to become human again and to save the world. And I'm just like, that's just like trickster fairy bullshit of the highest order. That's just so benign and lovely, and it makes me chuckle every time I get to talk about it.
That pleases me.
We will miss you. Have fun. Maybe see you at Comic-Con. If not, do you want to vote? Do you want to give us a wands up or wands down before you leave?
Well, I have a Clack fan because it's very hot at San Diego Comic-Con, and it's the strange blue. It matches. There's the Nithermon. That's him. I will give it a wand up because I love a slow burn. I love the message that it's not about you, and it's really nice in a Marvel Cinematic Universe full of really self-centered protagonists who are made to be heroes. It's nice to see one be so elegantly humbled and, you know, try to pursue being better through that humility, even though they retconned the humility right out of him when they did the next movie because they decided they wanted him to be a jerk like Tony Stark. But in his movie, his arc is becoming humble and a better person through that, and that's why I give it a wand up.
Thank you very much. So everybody, hold
Thanks,
on.
Chad.
Thank you, Chad. It was lovely meeting you.
Bye, Chad.
I love you all. If Richard-Lael shows back up, please give him my love.
We will.
We will
He's
do.
lost in a storm somewhere.
Oh.
All right, Jason.
God, I hope he's okay.
He's fine.
All right, bye everyone.
Bye.
And now I pour.
Do we have our Mankey Minute moment?
We do. It's a special edition tonight. It's the Mankey Moment Movie Awards for the 2016 film Doctor Strange. Let's take a moment to celebrate the 14th movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Doctor Strange. It's a movie that lies right in the middle of any ranking of the MCU. Not terrible, but not particularly great either. First up at our awards ceremony, it's the Let's Rip Off Iron Man statuette. And the winner is the movie Doctor Strange. Seriously, Doctor Strange is really just Iron Man, but substituting an arrogant doctor, Stephen Strange, for an arrogant tech bro, Tony Stark. Over the course of each origin story, our arrogant white men will acquire powers far beyond that of ordinary human beings, and after discovering and nurturing those powers, they will become better people and realize that the famous actresses in their respective movies should be treated better than they had been treated in the past. Wow, look at how much everyone has grown, all in just 2 hours. So, what's our next award? How about the biggest waste of a famous and talented actor? And the winner is Benjamin Bratt. Benjamin Bratt gets 7th billing in this film and has about 5 minutes of screen time. And then at the end of the film, he's pretty much left for dead and never seen again in the MCU. Luckily for Bratt, the following year he would star in the far superior Coco, voicing Ernesto de la Cruz, who gets more than just 5 minutes of screen time. Brat is a super charismatic actor and deserves better than this nothing appearance. I bet he got a nice check, though. And tonight's Best Supporting Actor award goes to Doctor Strange's cape. That's right. It's a big red cape with a mind of its own. How fun. And given how bland pretty much everyone is in this movie, the cape steals every scene she's in. She's quirky, she's strong, she flies, and she overcomes any obstacles. And she has far more personality than everyone else in this movie. Thank you, Red Cape. Or are you really a cloak? Who cares? Next up, it's the Great Moments in Mediocre White Guys Getting Promoted award. Imagine having studied at the side of the Ancient One for years, perhaps decades, and becoming extremely proficient in conjuring mystic shields and other assorted CGI special effects, only for some guy who has been at your school for 2 months to run away with the title Master of the Mystic Arts. If I was Wong, I would be pissed. What a load of malarkey. Here's your lessons, kids. Don't study too hard. Be kind of an insufferable ass, and you too can reach the top of the mountain. And here's one of our most popular Marvel Universe-related awards, the recycled villain trope. In Iron Man, you delighted at Iron Man fighting someone just like Iron Man. In Ant-Man, Ant-Man fought another guy who can shrink. And in Thor, Thor tangled with another Norse god. Congratulations, Doctor Strange movie, at throwing a mystical threat at our master of the mystic arts. Wow, such surprising storytelling. Who would have ever guessed that these characters were destined to only exist in an extremely limited space of the MCU? Might have been cool to see Doctor Strange battle someone who manipulates quantum physics like Magick, but nope. Let's just get back to magic and mystic shields. And now, our final award of the night goes to Benedict Cumberbatch for Worst American Accent by a British actor in a Marvel film. I live in the United States and have visited England 5 times. I remain confused by Doctor Strange accent in this movie. And that's our ceremony. Thanks so much for being a part of tonight's show. And if you thought tonight's awards were tough on Doctor Strange, just wait until we get to Doctor Strange 2, Mystic Boogaloo.
Yay! Thank you.
Jason,
Beautiful.
do you know about Benedict Cumberbatch and the penguin incident? Speaking
No.
of accent,
No.
he did. I think it was like a National Geographic or Animal Planet documentary about like somewhere in South America or the Antarctic, and he didn't know how to say the word penguin, but he also didn't realize that he didn't know how to say penguin, how to pronounce the word, and it got left in the documentary. And it's something like I don't remember the exact pronunciation, but throughout this very dramatic documentary, you'll hear his voiceover and he'll say, and then turning to the east, the sun reflects on the penguins. And the penguins dive into the sea where they will find other penguins. And the whole documentary, they released it without realizing that he was mispronouncing the word. And I thought you would appreciate that.
We've got 2 minutes, though. We've got 2 minutes.
We've got 2
Oh, no!
minutes. We have to vote. Yes, we do. So everybody, and you guys in the chat room, Heather, Ferryman, Robert, all of you, Robin, Melissa, wands up or wands down?
It's adequate. It's not great. It's adequate.
Tilda Swinton says I really like it.
Yeah. Okay. We've got a penguin. We've got vote, you guys. I'm wands up because I enjoyed it. Not being, like I said, a Marvel girl, not knowing who the heck Doctor Strange was, but I liked it. And cape and all. So wands up. So Colin, wands up, a spitting for some reason, a movie in which a cape should have gotten top billing. Way up from Robert. Wands up from Melissa. She voted twice. Good for you. Marty, wands up for magic representation in the Marvel Universe. Trump's nightmare. Thumbs up, wands up. Mary Jane King, we have 1 wands down so far. Mary Jane, there's one in every crowd. We love you, Mary Jane. Wands neutral. Heather Green, see it floating in the middle somewhere. And we miss you, Heather. We're glad that you were here with us a little bit. Neutral, I don't know Marvel, and I'm up in it.
All the Captain American movies are better. All the Captain American movies are better.
Are they? I'll have
Yes.
to. I'm learning so much on this movie, Kevin, for the girl who doesn't watch movies. Okay. All right, you guys. Next week, I can't remember.
Bagman.
Bagman.
2024 indie horror film Bagman.
Bagman.
Guys, check out Bagman. I don't know where you can watch it, but
Baghead.
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 Siri will tell you, Google will tell you, Alexa will tell you where to watch it. Bagman. Again, anywhere near San Diego, come see me, come see Thumper. Not Thumper. Thumper's not there. Chad is there.
Come look for me, though.
Books. My book, Dollcraft, is now out since everybody's showing the books, and I always forget to check it out. And Jason has 900 books. I'm doing one at a time. 10. That is really good. The latest one, High Priest.
It's not a contest. It's not a contest, Patty. We're good.
Yes, it is. Yes. Yes, it is. Hair contest. So, never heard of it. So, all right. So, thank you, Thumper. As always, you bring so much to this. Chad, wherever you went to in Comic-Con, you brought so much. Richard-Lael, we hope you're not standing out in the rain in a thunderstorm like you were doing. And you guys, see you next week. Thank you. We have one more thing to do because it is 7 o'clock. I always wanted to bring something else other than cackle, but we could
Mystic Shield.
Mystic Shields.
Mystic Shield. Mystic Shield.
Mystic Shield.